Okay, so ready to dive into something a little unsettling today.
Yeah, always up for a good deep dive, especially when it involves, body horror and Hollywood drama.
Right, and the substance definitely delivers on both of those fronts.
For sure.
This film, it's gotten a lot of buzz, and for good reason. It's got this, really fascinating premise. What if you could just take a drug and instantly become young again?
Right, that age-old question, but with a very, very horrific twist.
Exactly. Because, of course, there are always consequences, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And in this case, they are some pretty grotesque consequences. So we've got Elizabeth Sparkle, played by Demi Moore.
Oh, Demi Moore is fantastic in this, by the way.
She is. She really is.
Absolutely.
So she's this actress kind of past her prime, and struggling to stay relevant in Hollywood.
Which, let's be honest, is something that happens to so many women in the industry.
Yeah, it's a sad reality. And the film definitely doesn't shy away from that. Anyway, Elizabeth is desperate, to get back on top. And that's when she hears about this mysterious drug called, the substance.
And this drug, it promises to completely reverse the aging process. But as we see in the film, it's not exactly a miracle cure.
Definitely not. And this is where the body horror element really comes in.
Okay, so let's talk about that transformation.
Yeah.
What did you think of the visual effects?
The visual effects, oh my gosh, they were amazing. They were so well done and so disturbing all at the same time.
Yeah.
It's like the special effects artist, Pierre Oliver Person, they really went all out with the prosthetics and this really interesting body contortion technique.
Yes. There's that one scene, I think it's early on in the film, where her skin starts to ripple and pulsate.
Oh, yeah.
And you could just tell that something is very wrong. It's not just about wrinkles disappearing.
It's not. It's way more unsettling than that.
It's almost like something is trying to break out from under her skin.
Exactly. And it's just the beginning. As the film progresses, her transformation gets more and more extreme.
Oh, yeah. And it's not just physical, right? There's also this psychological transformation happening.
Right. Her whole identity starts to shift, too.
And that's where Margaret Qualley's character, Sue, comes in.
Yes. Sue, the younger, more, let's say, marketable version of Elizabeth that emerges.
So how did you interpret that whole dynamic between Elizabeth and Sue?
Well, it's on the surface, Sue is everything Elizabeth wants to be. Young, beautiful, and desired.
Mm-hmm.
But as the film goes on, it becomes clear that Sue isn't just a younger version of Elizabeth. She's almost like a completely separate entity.
Almost like a manifestation of all the pressures that Elizabeth has internalized over the years.
Yeah.
To be perfect, to be young, to be desirable.
Absolutely. And it's interesting how the director, Coralie Fargeat, she uses these contrasting visual styles to represent this inner struggle. You have these neon lit, almost dreamlike sequences that represent this idealized version of beauty.
Yeah, those were so striking. And then you have these really stark, grotesque scenes, the full force of the body horror.
Yeah. It's the film is visually showing us the tension between the fantasy and the reality of Elizabeth's pursuit of youth.
And the music. Rafferty's score is incredible.
Oh, yeah. The music is so effective in this film.
It's got this, pulsing electronic sound that just adds to this whole unsettling atmosphere.
Definitely adds to the creepiness factor. It's like the soundtrack to a nightmare.
Yes. So we've talked about, the visual horror, the psychological themes, but what about the social commentary? Because this film really does have a lot to say about, Hollywood's obsession with youth and beauty, particularly for women.
Oh, absolutely. It's right there on the surface, isn't it?
Yeah.
This whole idea that women in Hollywood have, an expiration date.
And Dennis Quaid's character, the producer, he's the embodiment of that attitude, right?
He is. He's so ruthless. It's just heartbreaking to watch Elizabeth, try to please him, try to prove that she still got it.
It's like he sees her as a commodity, valuable only for her youth and her looks.
Exactly. And that's the real horror of the film, isn't it? The way it forces us to confront these societal pressures that women face.
Right. It makes you think about how much of our own desire for youth is driven by, internalized societal expectations.
Yeah, it's definitely thought-provoking.
And for a film that tackles such dark, complex themes, it's interesting that it's found such widespread success.
Oh, for sure. And to think it's Mubi's highest-grossing film to date.
That's pretty impressive for a horror film.
It is. I think it speaks to the film's ability to, like, resonate on multiple levels. It's not just about the scares, it's about something deeper.
Right. It's a horror film with something to say.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And of course, we can't forget Demi Moore's performance. I mean, she really carries the film.
Oh, absolutely.
And she deservedly won the Golden Globe for Best Actress.
Yes. And the film itself got 5 Academy Award nominations.
Yeah.
It's definitely a must-see for horror fans.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
So, to wrap things up, The Substance is a wild ride. It's visually stunning, psychologically disturbing, and, it really makes you think.
For sure. It leaves you with a lot of questions, like, what price would you pay for youth? And, would it even be worth it?
Right. Would you be willing to lose yourself in the process?
Big questions.
Yeah. Definitely something to ponder. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time.
See ya!